Hello, everyone, and welcome to the number one podcast on the planet for helping you succeed, the Born to Succeed podcast. We are here to help you succeed on both a personal and professional level. How do we do that? We do that through motivation, inspiration, faith, hope, and love. And now, without further ado, your gracious host, Michael and Alyssa Merritt. All right, welcome to the Born to Succeed podcast. Today we have a very special guest, Miss Lynda Sunshine West. How are you doing today, Miss Lynda?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much. Being in San Diego makes it easy to go by the name Sunshine.
Very, very good.
It makes you want to smile every time you say Sunshine. I'm like, you can't say Lynda West. You have to say Sunshine West, right?
Yeah, it's funny you said that because somebody actually, Sunshine is not my given name. It's a name that was given to me only about 2 years ago. And so when I first heard it, I felt a little uncomfortable. And then the second time I heard it from somebody else. I was like, I'm kind of getting a trend here. And then somebody else said it. And then I heard it from a couple people. So I was like, I'm just going to change my Facebook name to Lynda Sunshine. And then the other day I was talking to somebody and they introduced me as Lynda West. And it felt really awkward. I was like, no, it's Sunshine.
Yeah, right. You feel connected to it and it makes you feel like sunshine just saying the word sunshine.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
I think we should all add, then you wouldn't be unique, but we all should add some sort of happy, sunshiny name to our names.
Yeah,
exactly.
So I was reading your bio and I see so many things on here on your bio. I see that you have a mastermind accountability group, that you're an author, that you're a producer, a CPA. I see on here that you produced a movie. Just all these different things. So tell us a little bit about yourself. I know I just read those, but tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Well, first thing is I'm not a CPA, so I got to look at that and see where that is because that's
okay.
I'm not a CPA. I do not want to claim to be
okay.
at all.
Okay. We'll take that off the list. All right.
Yeah, I would be the worst CPA. That's why.
Very good. All right, we'll take that one out of the list then. Okay.
Yeah, so it's been an interesting ride because at age 51, I realized that I was just really bored with my job and I wanted out. By that time, I had 49 jobs, and I just decided to leave because I worked with a life coach who helped me to see who I am, what kind of value I have to offer this planet, and really open up my mind and my heart and my soul, to who I truly, truly am and my purpose and serving my purpose. So at 51, I left that job and I went on this journey called entrepreneurship. And I had never really even explored the idea of having my own business or being an entrepreneur, like all on my own. I had a virtual assistant business that I worked side by side with my other jobs before, but I never thought of doing it just solely.
Right, and being responsible for it all, making the money.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because that's a little stressful. And so I went ahead and quit that job and started the journey. And it's interesting because, like you mentioned, an executive producer for a film called Wishman. We had several awards for that movie. It's the story of the founding of the Make-A-Wish Foundation. And then, I've become a 6 times best-selling author. I've been speaking on stages. I've done over 4,000 videos. I've interviewed stars on the red carpet. My favorite one was Wesley Snipes because the way it happened, not the interview itself as much as like how I made that happen. But when I started this journey, it's just been 6 years. It was 6 years of December. When I started the journey and people would ask me, what's your story? I had literally one little story. And then that one story has morphed into many stories because of the journey I've been on. And I continue to grow. Like what my life coach taught me was to think bigger, think grander, open up your mind, don't limit yourself. So because of that, like the stories just keep on growing and growing and growing. And there's so many more of them to share. And it's been amazing. And I'm just getting started. I'm only 6 years old. I'm like a baby right now.
Right. Yeah, that's awesome. So in your past life, this was not any type of business that you were in. I mean, this is all kind of brand new to you in a sense.
Well, yeah, I was in the corporate world for all those years. So 36 years in the corporate world. Those 49 jobs ranged from you're working in fast food to actually my very first job was working at the county fair I'm in San Diego, California. So the very first job was working at the county fair for the summer. And I like to say, I actually had 2 jobs my first job. I would make cotton candy by day and scoop poop by night.
Oh gosh.
Nice.
That's actually a pretty interesting story because I didn't even have a driver's license, and we live about 30 miles from the fair. And we were walking around, I was 16, and we were walking around, and I saw a help wanted sign. So I just walked up there and I said, "Hey, I want a job," and they ended up hiring me. So I went to my dad and I said, "Hey, Dad, they hired me and they want me to start next week." And he's like, "Oh, I guess we better go get you a driver's license because I'm not going to drive you up every day." So I got my driver's license because I had a job to do.
That's great. Yes. Yeah. You started out the right way, right?
Yeah. So you're a producer of the movie Wishman, which is about Frank Shankwitz, which we would have to, be remiss if we didn't say rest in peace right now. Mr. Frank passed away, for those that don't know. And what an awesome, incredible guy. I never had the privilege of meeting Frank, but certainly followed him online and his presence and known about him for a long time. And what an incredible man, and what a great thing he did. So that's so awesome that you were involved with that movie. Tell us a little bit about that. How did you get involved with that? How did that happen?
Yeah, so I in 2015, I was this was right after I finished working with my life coach. I woke up January 1st of 2015, and I was like, oh my God, I love the growth that I've made, working with a life coach, and our contract was over. And instead of signing up another contract, I decided, I'm going to, just continue the growth on my own. Right. So I woke up that morning, January 1st, 2015. I was like, what am I going to do differently that's going to help me to keep growing? So I decided to face a fear every single day that year. And I did. Every single day I would wake up, the first thing I would do is ask myself, what scares me? And then I would lay in bed and I would wait for the answer. And so whatever was the first thing that came to my mind was the thing I had to do that day. Right. Well, during that time is when I met Frank Shankwitz. It was March of 2015. So I'm only 2.5 months into my fear-facing journey. And Frank, it was at this event called Secret Knock. And Frank was speaking. And I literally had my mouth open the whole time, just like in awe, like there he is, this guy larger than life. And literally he's like 6'6", Yeah. And so he's larger than life. And he created this incredible, this incredible machine that grants wishes for kids all over the world. And it all started with one idea. And at the very, very end of his talk, he always says this one phrase. And it really got me thinking. And he said, if I can do it, everyone can be a hero. Right. And it made me sit there and think, can I be a hero? Right. I said, you know what? He's right, because I'm probably a hero to somebody already. Right. Right. And so as cool as the next day, my fear was to talk to Frank. That was my fear, that I woke up that morning and I said, what scares me? To talk to Frank, because he's so much bigger than life. Right. So I ended up talking to him the next day, and we had a long conversation. And the way it happened was, as I was driving up to the event, I was like, okay, I'm going to walk up to him and I'm going to say, hey, Frank, my name's Lynda. And I wasn't Lynda Sunshine back then, by the way, just Lynda West. Right. So I said, hey, Frank, my name is Lynda. You're going to be the keynote speaker at my event. And he was like, okay, let's go talk about this, Yeah. So we ended up talking about it, had a long conversation. By the end of the conversation, we had a gentleman's handshake that he was going to be the speaker at my event. And that's what started our relationship, was that. So that, I saw him many, many times after that at Secret Knock and at different events, because I attend a lot of events, and he spoke at a lot of events. And so I'd see him. And then my mentor, Greg Reed, he was the catalyst for the movie Wishman. So what happened was, at Secret Knock, Frank was speaking, and when Frank was done speaking, Greg asked him a question. So what was your wish? And Frank was like, nobody's ever asked me what my wish is. He said, all I want is my story to be told so that my grandkids know that I've done something important.
Awesome.
And so, yes, this is how the movie came to be. So Greg said, okay, just sign over your life rights. We're going to make a movie.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. So it's cool because that's how the progression of how that happened. And then Greg ended up becoming my mentor. And because I was with my mentor a lot, he's like, hey, we're working on this movie. Do you want to be part of it? And I said, yes. So I became one of the executive producers of the film.
That's
wow,
awesome.
That's incredible. Yeah. So you have a book out as well. So tell us about your book.
I have a few. The Year of Fears. So after I finished with the year of facing fear every day, Greg, my mentor, he said, you need to write a book about it because people need to hear your story because it can inspire and motivate people. So I ended up writing that book. It became a best-selling book within like 24 hours. And then I wrote a book called Momentum, 13 Lessons from Action Takers Who Changed the World. And that one has Frank Shankwitz in it. My mentor is in there, and then the founder of UGG Boots. And so I have a lot of really cool people in that book that tell their story and stuff. And I'm writing 2 more right now. So the collaboration books, it's a lot of fun. I'm loving what I'm doing.
Right. Collaboration books are great. I'm in a collaboration book, Speak Your Way to Success, with 16 other authors. And basically, we're all speakers, motivational speakers. And it's a great book. My wife just completed a collaboration book that's releasing on the 18th, as a matter of fact, Finding Diamonds. So I love the collaboration effort. She's also in another collaboration book. What's your other book?
The One Habit, How to Thrive in the Post-COVID World.
With Forbes Riley and Steve Sambliss. Yeah, so I love the collaboration books when you can get people together. I always, whenever we put 2 powerful minds together, we create a third and more powerful mind. And it's amazing what we can do when we collaborate together. So that's incredible. Good job for you.
It truly is. And, I want to share that I'm in the first One Habit book. And then the second One Habit book is called One Habit for Women Action Takers. And that actually came about because I was talking to Steve Sambliss, and I was like, I was just starting my Women Action Takers movement, and I said, we should do a book called One Habit for Women Action Takers. And he loved that idea. Right. So then we just took off and started to compile the people to be in that book. And then I was like, you know what? Habits are great, but there's a lot of habits like we shouldn't be doing. So let's add an unhabit. Like what's a habit you shouldn't do? So we added the unhabit to the One Habit for Women Action Takers book. And it's cool because I think a lot of the authors like that unhabit aspect. And I love, Steve does give me credit for that because it's I think almost that's my favorite part of the book is the unhabits. Like what are the things people are doing that they shouldn't be doing?
Yeah, definitely. We have that in the Post-COVID World book as well. And I think that it should be more prominent, like you're saying, because if you don't read the book, if you don't buy the book, if nobody tells you, it's 102 people and the habits that you should create, also 102 unhabits, as he quotes, And so that's just as powerful, if not more. You have to stop the bad and add the new. So you need both components for success. Definitely.
Yeah, because we got to replace a bad habit with a good habit every day, right? Well, that's the goal.
Yeah, definitely. Those are great books. I love it because you get to see different perspectives. It can be the same habit or the same unhabit, but it's written from a different perspective. And people's lives, we're all different. We all have different experiences, and so it's great to read those different habits and unhabits.
Right.
Yeah, we all connect with different people in different ways. Some of us we just meet and we're just like, oh, I don't know, it doesn't mesh together. And then sometimes it's like, you're my sister from the world. I mean, we're sisters. And so, so it's nice how that, I call it a divine intervention when, like minds meet together and common goals. And then because, you were in a Forbes, one of my Forbes groups, and we came about finding out about Forbes through our publisher. And so it's just all been divine, the way I believe, intervention of things going into place and people coming into my path and coming across my path that I wouldn't even have known how to meet otherwise. And I've been able to be introduced and work with before, like kind of on their base level as well. Everybody's starting in the same area. Everybody's still growing. Like you said, we're still kind of babies, but we're not in our experiences, right? It's just in the world of how we're trying to share what our experiences are and how they can help you to overcome and persevere.
Yeah.
Keep going. You know, how do you do that?
Yeah.
Well, you need a coach or a mentor, somebody who tells you, shows you, and gets you to that place and keeps you, you need that accountability partner.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's easy for it to be your spouse, and sometimes it's not, because sometimes you're just like, I don't need you telling me what to do. Okay, listen. So it's easier to hear it from a coach or a mentor.
Right. And tell us about that, because we know you do that as well, correct?
Yeah, I run a women's mastermind, and it's amazing because, like you said, bringing the like minds together, like we can do so much more. What do they say? 1 + 1 = 11, right? Because you bounce idea after idea out of idea like that. And so it just keeps snowballing. It was during this entrepreneurial journey, again, I started it 6 years ago. I made this personal declaration to the world. And that was that I'm going to spend the rest of my life having as much fun as possible, hanging out with positive and uplifting people, making a positive impact on the planet. So what ended up happening is that me saying that, I made that, it was like to 26 people. I was speaking in front of a crowd, a group, and I made that declaration. And so what happened is that set it in motion, right? So oftentimes with our goals and our dreams and our desires that we have, we ask for them, but we don't take the action to actually make it happen. I remember when I first saw the movie, The Secret, it was an amazing movie. And when it was done, I thought, really, all I need to do is just sit here and think about it and I'll get it. I really thought I didn't have to take any action. I thought it would just happen. But it's been interesting because, when I made that declaration, what ended up happening is people in my life that were negative kind of started disappearing, just falling off. And then about 8 months later, I made this realization, like, I haven't heard from so-and-so in like 8 months. I wonder if it's because I made this declaration to, attract positive people. And that's what's happened. So meeting you two, has been part of that journey for me. And I'll just share really quickly, I grew up in a very volatile, abusive, alcoholic household. And I ran away when I was 5 years old and I was gone for a week. Like I was intending to be gone forever. Like I didn't want to come home, but my mom brought me back home. And, from there, it's like I came home with my tail between my legs and my head literally bent down. I wouldn't look people in the eyes for decades to come because I had this image in my mind that, they didn't like me. They wouldn't connect with me. My dad I literally saw my dad as a monster. And so when I would look at other people, I saw a monster too. So I carried that around with me until I worked with my life coach at 51. So it's been definitely been, and that's not why I was never called Sunshine before. Because I wasn't.
Sure. Yeah. And we all go through things in life, right? They cause us to have limiting beliefs. And a lot of times that starts at our very earliest ages. You're not pretty enough. You're not smart enough. But maybe it's a first grade teacher that you tell your big dream to that I'm going to be an astronaut. And they go, you can't be an astronaut. Just stop that. I mean, really, Joey, come on. I mean, you done. Come on, let's be real now. And then boom. From there on, it's, oh no, I really can't. And then the snowball effect happens and limiting beliefs are brought in and I can't do it. And then you can't. And just what you said, Zig Ziglar, one of his favorite things to say is you have to see it to believe it and you have to believe it to achieve it. So once I can see it and believe it, then I can put it down on paper and make it a goal. Then once I make it a goal and I put it on paper, then I can go get it. But until I do that, it's just my imagination floating around, right? But once I can put those together and believe it, like you said, and truly believe in yourself that, hey, I can do it. Yeah. I can. And God put that into my head for a reason so that I can believe it and I can achieve it. So I'm so, congratulatory to you from where you've gone in your life. And then, looking at where you were and where you've gone, our greatest ministry oftentimes comes from our greatest misery. And it's so great that now you share that word with others and change their lives, right?
Yeah, it's definitely, or they say your message, right? There's so many
Yes.
different sayings that talk about that. And
Right.
while you're
Yep.
going through it, it's really difficult to see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Right.
But like if you start in that kind of darkness and you don't know that there's light.
Right.
So I remember walking around thinking, like I would see somebody smiling and or really jovial, and I was like, that's a bunch of BS.
Right. Right.
That's not real. They're just faking it. I used to really think that because I didn't realize what the light was. But
Right.
now that I'm here, I completely see. I'm like, they were right. They were right. I want to share a really quick story because you're talking about, see it, believe it, achieve it. But we
Yeah.
still have to take that massive action. So I'm going to share
Yes.
this really quick story. Is when I interviewed. Actually, I've had some really amazing. And I interviewed the president of Mexico. That was a really cool one too. But when I interviewed Wesley Snipes on the red carpet, this was one of those situations that I saw it, I believed it, but to achieve it, I had to take massive action.
Right.
So what
Yeah.
happened is I'm standing on the red carpet. I'm like, oh, here comes Wesley Snipes. He's coming up. I'm ready for him. And then he was being interviewed about 3 people to my left. And then when they finished, he walked right on past me and he walked to about 3 people to my right. And I was like, no way, you're not passing me up. And so what I did is I hung on every single word that they were saying. So I was listening to the interviewer, I could hear them, and I hung on every single word. I looked at every single movement they were making, their whole body languages, from head to toe. And I was really tuned in and honed in on what I wanted because I looked at my videographer and I was like, we're getting Wesley Snipes. And so when he was done, that very split second that they were done with the interview, I just tapped him on the shoulder, on the elbow. And I tapped him and I just nudged him over towards me, just ever so slightly. And it's really, if you think about like the power of suggestion, I just touched him and I said, Mr. Snipes, it's my turn. And I did get that opportunity to interview him on the red carpet. But I had that, that desire, I had that dream, I had that vision, but I had to take that action. Now,
you're gonna let it go, right?
Yeah, I feel like now 2 years before, I wouldn't have done that. I just would have said, oh, he passed me by. I guess it wasn't meant to be. I would have had all these things that I didn't do the action to make it happen. I wouldn't have done it. So it's through this growth, right? This growth process of what do you want out of your life? You can hope, dream, pray, desire, manifest everything you want in life. But if it's staring you right in the face and you don't grab it and do something about it, take that action, nothing is going to happen. Nothing happens without action. Nothing happens without action.
Right. And most of the time that's uncomfortable. Right. We tell people that all the time. It's when you take the uncomfortable action and move from that comfort zone to the pain and growth zone that you will then get to the zone that you want to get to, which is that pleasure zone. But, you got to put in the work. You got to move towards that and take that uncomfortable action of it's really, oh gosh, I'm stepping outside my box. This is so uncomfortable. Oh my goodness. I was just talking with somebody about this the other day, compared it to a roller coaster. If you're afraid of roller coasters, never been on one, as you're looking up at it, you're like, we're going to do this thing. You're like, come on, we're going to do it. You're like, oh my gosh, I'm so scared. I don't even know. Oh my gosh, my feelings inside. And then after you get off, you're so exhilarated, you can't even think of the words to say. But it was the uncomfortable action that you took to get to the exhilaration. Had you not taken the uncomfortable action and went, okay, I'm going to ride this thing. Oh, I'm so scared. You never would have felt the exhilaration on the other side of going, wow, I took the uncomfortable action, but look where I ended up. My goodness gracious. So, yeah, congratulations on that, because that's obviously a big thing there with Wesley Snipes or anything like that. The president of Mexico, that's just incredible. But it's taking that action. You've got to reach out, right? It's not going to come to you. It's not just going to be served to you on a platter. Sometimes we can circles where we end up kind of being around certain people, just like you were with Frank, right? But it wasn't until you reached out to him that things happened, because you could have been in the same room 50 more times, but until you reach to him, nothing's going to happen, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I like to call it enlarging the size of my comfort zone, like a balloon. Because when you blow up a balloon the first time, it only gets so big. And then when you let the air out and you blow it up again, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So I like to call it like what's happened is every time I step out of my comfort zone, I don't feel like I'm actually stepping out of it. I'm just enlarging the size of it, because the comfort zone is unlimited. There is no zone. there is no, I don't know who came up with that phrasing in the first place, but really there is no zone, because what's happening is we're limiting ourselves by, by saying, I'm going to step outside of it. So I do like to say, enlarge the size of it. And boy, have I enlarged. When you break through a fear every day, I'll tell you what, you're going to enlarge the size of your comfort zone. My confidence level has like skyrocketed from doing that, because I used to have fear. I wouldn't talk to people. I was so scared to talk to people.
Right. Yeah, because what is fear? Fear is being afraid of doing that next step, right? And instead you had courage. And courage is having fear but doing it anyway. And that's what we all have. But it's so much easier to say that than to do it. And so to just have that courage to step out, that's just amazing that you've done that. I had that word for Alyssa last year, as she had raised her courage level and stepped out of her comfort zone multiple times. Last year, before July, she had not been on stage really on any big venue at all. And as we started getting her onto stages and different events, it was definitely out of her comfort zone, right?
Yeah, definitely. My word last year, the word I picked was courage. And I just think God had put me in uncomfortable situations all year long. And I remember at times I would just say, I just don't like you. I don't want you around. I don't like you. And it was just, facing my fears, right? It had nothing to do with Mike personally or himself or any of my relationships. It just had to do with what I was comfortable with and what I was uncomfortable with, overcoming and persevering. And that's the Finding Diamonds. The book is 12 women who tell their stories of overcoming and persevering, and how they were at weak and mental, some of them were at mental instability at times, and how they overcame and they persevered, and they're still alive, and they didn't let anything, not even floods or things that happen from nature, stop them. And they just knew they had to keep going. And I think it's great. And I think for women, it's great because women as mothers who are raising the next generations, we have to have that perseverance, overcoming, coping mechanisms really is a big thing. And boundaries, there's a lot of back to the basic things that we need to start with in order, like you said, you had to get back. I think you had to go back at 51 and kind of look at your dad, the monster, and put him in perspective, right? Because he was just your dad that had a problem in life.
Yeah.
He didn't know with it, and so, but you didn't know because you were just a little kid. So that's what it does look like. But then as you get older, you can your mind. You think differently because you can understand it differently, and you understand a different perspective. And I think that's great for overcoming in a lot of situations when we step back, look at the other person and think, I don't know what they're going through, so don't take it personally. And just stay focused on yourself, like you said, and get to where you're pushing your own boundaries and your own limits to become who you need to be for everybody else in the world.
Absolutely. Yeah. So Ms. West, some goals for 2021 and beyond for you?
Yeah, the goals for 2021, I do the same thing. I have a word of the year, and this year the word is expansion. So it's all about like not limiting my thinking about myself or what I can or can't do, because every time I set goals, I achieve them faster than I set the time limit. So I know, like they say, write down the goal, write down the date and all this stuff. But the thing is, when I do that, I feel like it's actually limiting me from achieving it faster. And I wanted to share really quickly, because there's, fear is something, we all have fears. We're human beings and we have fears. So facing that fear every single day, one of the biggest things I learned through that is, first of all, I came up with my own acronym. I've heard phrases like fear is like face everything and run. First of all, I say face everything and run into it. So that's the one thing. I don't run away, it's like run into it. And another one is false evidence appearing really cool. So that's another one that I use. But then I created this other one is faith erases anxious reactions. Because when our faith is strong, our fear is either weakened or it's eliminated. So when I'm finding myself feeling fearful, what I do is I check in with myself and I say to myself, Lynda, how strong is your faith right now?
Right.
So that really helps me to move into a place of faith instead of fear.
Right.
And I think it's really important for us to figure out, how we can break through that fear, because fear is just the idea of what might happen. That's all it is. Like the idea of what might happen. And most of the time it's nowhere near what we thought it was going to be.
That's right.
Right. Yeah. It's just it's the not knowing, because sometimes we stay in our uncomfortable zone because it's comfortable. Right. We know this is going to happen every day, even though we don't like it, we still know it's going to happen. So I'd rather stay here than not know what's going to happen. And it's just that little step, like Mike said, riding the roller coaster. Once you rode it, you don't want to stop riding it, because you're like, this is great. I overcame. So
and this is why a lot of, especially women, mostly women, I should say, mostly women stay in abusive relationships, because even though it's horrible, it's bad, he treats me this, whatever, it's our comfort zone. And my mom was with my dad, abusive, for 55 years. The very first thing my mom said when my dad took his last breath, I was standing right next to her in the hospital. She said, "Thank God the bastard is dead." Those were her first words when my dad passed away. She lived in a comfort zone for 55 years. And even though it was uncomfortable, it was more comfortable than the thought of doing something different, of stepping outside of that. So it's really important. I'm so glad I didn't repeat my mom's life. And I was on that path. My first marriage was someone just like my dad. Right. And after I had a 14-month-old and a 4-week-old, I literally put one on my left hip, put the other one in a carrying case, a diaper bag over one shoulder, and my purse over the other shoulder. And I walked out of there. I was like, I'm not living this. I'm not.
Right. How brave were you, right?
Yeah. And it was more of fear. Like fear, sometimes fear fuels us to do the things to get out. Right. So that seems to kind of be my pattern. 5 years old, I ran away. I was gone for a week. It was because of the fear. I was fearful of what might happen if I stayed with my first husband. That's what fueled me to get out of there. So if we can tap into that part of fear, like I'm tapping into my fear right now to change something about myself, instead of being fearful that if I leave it's going to be bad. Because just know that if you're in a bad situation right now, it can be better, but you got to take the steps to make it happen, to get out of there.
Right. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Such a great point. Yeah. So going back 2021 and beyond, what are your goals?
My goals. So I have a women's mastermind that I'm launching. I'm relaunching it February 15th. And my goal for that is 48 women by the end of the first quarter, and then 100 women by the end of the year. So by the end of 2021. And I'm really excited about this because I'm offering scholarships to a lot of women. I want to offer scholarships because there's been many, many times that I've been on sales calls, and at the end of the sales call, someone's selling something to me. At the end of the sales call, I'm like, you know what? That's not in my budget right now, but I wish they would take a chance on me.
Right.
So I'm doing that. I'm taking a chance on these women that I'm inviting to join the mastermind. And I'm saying, I believe in you, and I'm going to put my money where my mouth is.
Right.
Wow.
Right. That's great.
That is awesome. And the name of your group is Women Action Takers. Is that correct?
Women Action Takers is the group. This particular mastermind is called Be Seen, Be Heard, Be Paid. So I'm helping women entrepreneurs, mostly coaches, who want to launch an online course or want to do group programs, helping them to do that.
Yeah. So what's the link or the website for that? So the people that are listening right now, where do they go?
Be seen, be heard, be paid.com. I made it easy.
There you go. Simple enough, right? Yeah. And so what is some of your other social media if they want to go find you? I know you're probably on many other areas. What do they do?
Yeah. I'm on LinkedIn and Facebook, both as Lynda Sunshine West, and I have Women Action Takers. I have a Facebook group called Women Action Takers Network, and I just joined Clubhouse. So I'm over on Clubhouse at Lynda Sunshine, which I'm loving Clubhouse. It's amazing.
Okay.
Yeah, it is great.
Very good, very good. So what are some nuggets of wisdom that you're going to leave our listeners with today? Some things that you're like, you know what, here's a couple of things that I have to leave you with.
This one thing really hit me hard. It was 2 weeks before my mom passed away. So my dad passed away, and then 3 years later, my mom passed away. We were sitting and just having a chat on the couch, and she looked over at me and said, you know what? I've lived my life with so many things I didn't do. I didn't do them because I let Dad stop me from living my life. So you go out there and you live your life with no regrets. And that
Right.
really put me on a path of figuring out, what does that even mean? What does it
Right.
mean to live with no regrets? So I've, been on this journey and making sure that I live my life with no regrets by having that, having as much fun as possible, hanging out with positive, uplifting people. That is one of the things, like, that's my personal mission, my personal goal mission for the rest of my life, every single day. So
Right.
by living that and embodying that, I'm living my life every single day with no regrets. And that's the thing I'd say, is just make sure that whatever you're doing is something you want to do while you're here. We don't know when our
Right.
last breath is. So live
Right.
your life with no regrets.
Yeah. Definitely be intentional, on purpose, serve your purpose with a purpose. Yeah.
Yeah,
sure.
definitely. And life is too short not to live it with passion. And when you love something, you're gonna have passion for it. And so that's the way we need to live. Unfortunately, like you said, and we always talk about, unfortunately, too many people get just stuck in this existing mode, where they just go day to day of just existing, and that's not how we should live our lives. We should live our lives like you said, no regrets. Let's get up every day, be thankful. Psalm 118:24 is one of my favorite verses. Says, "For this is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it." And we should wake up.
That's a great song too.
Man,
This is the day. This is the day that the Lord has made. Yeah, I love that song.
So it's like, man, let's be thankful. We got another day. Here we go. Another day to serve others. And so that's kind of where we're always at as we're moving forward in the future. And that's obviously what you're doing, serving others. That's why God put us here on purpose, with a purpose, for a purpose, to serve others. And we kind of have that mentality of, we know that we can have everything we want in life if we just help enough other people get what they want and need. So we want to thank you for being on the show with us today, Miss Lynda Sunshine West, as you're bringing this beam of sunshine coming out from the Zoom call. For those that are listening on the podcast, you don't get to see this beautiful smiling face, but I certainly know that you can probably feel it in her voice. And so we thank you so much for being on the show with us today. The Born to Succeed podcast, we do the show simply for one reason, and it's just to share the good word of motivation, inspiration, faith, hope, and love. So we thank you so much for what you do, not only for your women group, but you're all around for everyone around you. And, for the accomplishments that you've had, congratulations on that. We know your best days are yet to come. And certainly we just look forward to seeing you grow and grow. And we just want to see, others around you see that beam of sunshine and go, wow, I need some of what she's got. Oh, man.
There we go.
Yeah. So join her group, guys. You heard it a minute ago. If you have any questions, we'll certainly direct you that way. So Miss Lynda, thank you again so much. Miss Alyssa, you have anything you want to wrap up with?
I just want to say thank you for coming on the podcast, coming on the show. We appreciate it. I'm glad I met you through the forums. I'm glad I took action to reach out to you and say, hey, you want to be on the podcast? And we got to talk, and so it's been a pleasure. And I'm really excited about all the things you're doing. I'm excited to be involved and to be just a part of it. It's great.
There you go.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And remember, nothing happens without action.
There you go. So for those listening, you just heard it. Thank you so much for listening to the Born to Succeed podcast. Remember, you can achieve anything in life if you just set your mind to it, right? If we can believe it, we can achieve it. We just have to take that massive action on the backside to make it happen. Thank you so much, everybody. Listen, have a blessed day. And until next time, from Michael and
Alyssa
and our special guest, Miss Lynda Sunshine, have a blessed day. We want to thank everyone so much for taking the time to listen to the Born to Succeed podcast with Michael and Alyssa Merritt. We know that you have a very busy schedule, and we appreciate you taking time out of your day to spend time with us. You can find us at Merritt Coaching Group on YouTube, Facebook. You can email us at merrittcoachinggroup@gmail.com. We want to remind you that you can have everything you want in life if you just help enough others get what they want and need. Remember to follow the golden rule. You can have everything you want. Yeah, but you got to do what? Treat others as you want to be treated. So until next time, have a very blessed day. From Michael and Alyssa Merritt.